Mark, that game lived inside a tight window, tight margin. What did you see from your guys in terms of playing the game and not the scoreboard?
Yeah, it was a 48-minute game. It was really physical. There's a lot of contact allowed on the perimeter, on the glass. It was just a brawl from the jump. That was the first 5 to 7 minutes of that game was unbelievably physical, and the guys just battled up and had to withstand a lot of runs by Minnesota. Give their role guys credit. The shot making was ridiculous. So for us to overcome that on the road the way we did was a great team win.
Mark, how much of that close, the poise involved, did you sense was maybe a product of some of the games you've already played in this postseason?
The what involved? I'm sorry?
The close and just the poise involved.
Yeah, I thought we did a good job of moving the scoreboard late in the game. Good situations, down the stretch there in the possession game. So I thought the guys did a great job just taking a possession at a time, stacking them up, and running through the game.
It felt like, Dub, Shea, Chet all had their turn at making big plays. Just what'd you see as far as the way they played off each other?
Those guys were all great. I mean, Dub, the Tony set early, and then the shot making late was huge. Chet was a monster. Played majority 5 all night and battled up. Shea obviously was brilliant. And all the guys, I thought Kaysen gave us a great lift. Caruso gave us a great lift. I thought Dort's tone early in the game defensively was particularly important in that one. So everybody that went in the game, gave us a huge contribution in that game.
What stood out to you about J-Dub's scoring tonight in particular?
I mean, he's still learning. He's a young player still, and he has these, these are rich experiences for him. And last game, they did a good job on him. They got him, forced him right, kept him on his right hand. Thought he fought that a little bit. He's trying to fight to his left hand, and tonight he just kind of took what they gave him and still found his cracks. He was still able to get in both directions, but he just was in control most of the night. I mean, he never seemed sped up. He never seemed like they were dictating anything, and that's what the great offensive players can do. And just a great adjustment by him tonight in the game. I thought he was outstanding offensively.
Mark, you guys have won in a lot of different ways this postseason, but to come off a historic loss the way you did, to have Chet, SGA, Jalen combine for 95 points, what did you learn about this young group now one win away to come back and win that way?
I learned nothing. This is they're easy to bet on. This team's easy to bet on. We had a very normal couple days leading into it, very normal shoot around today, and there's just kind of a sense, an internal sense that we were going to come out and it would be a much different game, just tonally, and it was. So didn't learn anything about the resilience or the perseverance, but we're still growing. These are all new experiences for us. It's the first time we've been up 2-0 this late in the season. First time we've been up 2-1 this late in the season. And now it's the first time we've been up 3-1, and we have to handle that correctly. But, from a resilience standpoint, this is the last group of guys you need to worry about.
And yet this is, one of the youngest groups in the league, and the maturity that they're displaying, to your point, now up 3-1, knowing what the next step is and knowing what that means. It's a childhood dream for so many. I don't think advice is what you have to give these guys, but what's the message that they give each other and you give them?
We have to approach the next 48 hours the same way we approached the last 48 hours and just get back to our baseline. That's our deal. The gaps between the games for us, we try to make as consistent as possible. The guys do a great job of that. And we just need to focus on winning possessions in Game 5, and not try to win the game, not try to focus on anything else, just get ourselves very present, still improve. There's a lot of things we can improve on from that game. I thought we took a huge stride forward offensively, but defensively they gave us some problems tonight, obviously. So we got to learn those lessons and keep getting better. That's how you navigate a series.
Mark, the last few possessions were kind of chaotic, but at the same time, how do you think your guys handled that? And also, we saw the fouling up 3 obviously go awry. This was sort of the redemption game for that. What'd you think?
Nice job. Get your shots in. Yeah, I thought the execution down the stretch was really good. I mean, that was a possession game. That's what you invite when you do that. We had fouls to give. We had to get the ball in bounds. Timeout management, lineup management, the rebound at the end, all that stuff. So the guys did a great job. Those are situations that we've been in before, that we work on regularly. We handled them very well. We didn't execute as well as we could have in the game you're referring to. Just like any other game, we strip the emotion, take the lessons, apply them forward, and tonight we executed really well.
You mentioned Minnesota's role players. Nikhil obviously hit huge shots, was guarding Shea down the stretch. I know you're not thinking about it from just those guys' story and them sort of growing up together, but what did you think of Nikhil's game and just those two guys going at it?
And he was amazing. The game he put together, DiVincenzo, McDaniels, and it felt like those guys didn't miss, and some of those were breakdowns on our part. I mean, they were really clean on some of those. So some of that stuff we can address and make it a little harder on those guys. They did a really good job attacking offensively. I thought both teams tonight had their way offensively. So we got to learn from that, but you got to give those guys credit. They delivered. They stepped into those shots and really, shot it ridiculously efficiently. So for us to be able to escape with a road win when the other team's bench and role players shoot like that is fortunate for us.
Anybody else? Go ahead. Coach, and at the end, on the second free throw, what was the conversation between your bench and I guess the players? Were you expecting that? Where were you guys kind of at that point?
For him to miss that free throw?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were expecting that with, they're out of timeouts and that short of a clock. That's a situation we work on. We've been in that, we had that in the Clipper game. We had that in one of the Memphis playoff games after we fouled up 3 in those ones. So, we have a plan in those situations, and the guys executed it. Shea got a great loose ball there, and we executed every part of the end of the game really well tonight.
Mark, people say that you can't fake desperation. What will it take for this team in sort of in a closeout game against a team with their back up against the wall in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think we've seen that the last 2 games from Minnesota, and we're expecting nothing less in terms of the force and the physicality and the energy that they're going to come and play with. They've established that these last 2 games. I didn't think they were much different tonight. They were really, really ready to play. That was a high level start to the game. Both teams were ready to rock. I thought the difference tonight was we leveled up with them, whereas in Game 3 we didn't. But, we're expecting their best punch again in Game 5, and we have to throw ours if we want to win the game.
Obviously, Hardenstein didn't play a lot. That's usually one of the guys that sets a physical tone for this team. What comes to mind when you think of the ways that the other guys came out and maybe set a physical tone?
Yeah, we're going to need Hart. He's really impactful for us. We took a look at some different things defensively tonight by downsizing, and we thought that would give us some offensive fluidity as well, which it did. But how these series go, and every game is different. That wasn't the plan going in, was to, play that small the entire game. But with the way the game was unfolding and the way we were able to get some of our stuff into the game with the smaller lineups, we decided to stick with it. So Game 5 will be different. It'll be different minutes, different rotations. It'll unfold as a different game. And he's a really important player for us, obviously, with his physicality, his defense, his offensive physicality as a screener, rebounder. So we need him.
For Minnesota, Randall had just 7 shots and Edwards had 13. What did you like about just how you guys limited their opportunities tonight?
Yeah, we did a good job on those guys. I thought Dort, like I said early in the game on Edwards, was really, really on it. He set a great tone and established a level of energy and activity with him that was important. We really made him work for the ball and really made him work for his shots. Same with Randall. I thought the physicality on him was outstanding. We had our chest on him early. We had the crowd around him. And then, those guys did a pretty good job of moving it. Like as quiet of a night as it might have looked like they generated a lot of creation for that team, and those guys made shots. So it wasn't like a shutdown. Like they took what we gave them, and those guys delivered. There's things we can improve on to try to take, not take everything away, but make it a little bit harder in the secondary parts of those plays. But I thought our initial tone on those 2 players was really important.
Mark, going back to Jalen Williams, back in training camp, a point of emphasis was to increase his 3-point volume. He was so good at the rim and in the mid-range last season. How rewarding is it to see in a big-time moment like tonight for that increase in volume and the work that he put into that come to fruition for you?
Yeah, he's planted those seeds. The thing I'm impressed with about him, though, is his ability to learn from his experiences very quickly is impressive. And so he had some games in the Denver series that he wasn't great offensively. He just looks at it in a very intentional way, and he improves. And then same thing, they really were loaded up off of him, and he got himself to windows. He got himself open shots. Shea did a good job of finding him. But I just think his carryover and his growth from game to game is exciting because he's, like I say, he's still a young player, as great of a player as he is.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thanks.